While walking through a park with his concubines, he sees a beautiful Ashoka tree, which puts him in the mood for some afternoon delight. The concubines are so grossed out having to touch his gross skin that as soon as Ashoka fell asleep, they go and chop all the flowers off the tree to make sure it won't happen again, which I find hilarious. But when Ashoka wakes up and finds out what they did, he has them all burned to death. And perhaps as pièce de résistance, he constructed a beautiful palace, which he then fills with the most evil torture devices imaginable. Burning pits, fire chambers, molten metal for pouring down throats, spiked walls and ceilings for impaling, rotating blades for chopping off body parts, and iron hooks for hanging were all said to be found within the walls of this palace that's given the name Ashoka's Hell. No one who enters the palace ever comes out alive. It did evidently have a beautiful garden in front of it though. Now at this point you may be wondering, why are you even talking about this psychopath anyway? Well, it's because, believe it or not, he's often referred to today as Ashoka the Great, one of the greatest and most beloved rulers in the history of India, and his redemption arc begins in 262 BCE. Ashoka has dreams of surpassing his grandfather and father, who had successfully grown the Mauryan Empire to encompass nearly the entire Indian subcontinent, modern-day Afghanistan and Bangladesh. For his first conquest, he sets his sights on the kingdom of Kalinga, an unconquered area located on the eastern coast of India that his grandfather had once tried to take, but failed. The Kalinga were a proudly independent people who had wealth, trading ports, and a well-trained military, and defeating them would be a great first step to show he'd surpassed his forefathers. So Ashoka takes an army of 600,000 infantry, 30,000 cavalry, and 9,000 war elephants and attacks Kalinga with the entire might of the Mauryan Empire. The Kalinga, though heavily outnumbered, refuse to surrender and fight bravely to rips the infant from the hands of its mother and walks away as she begs for him to stop. Harpagus carries the baby out of the city, but as he looks down at the newborn, he finds he just doesn't have it in him to take the life of an infant. So instead, he gives the baby to a shepherd and tells him to go leave it in the woods to die. As ordered, the shepherd takes the baby and carries it off into the woods, but unknown to Harpagus, the wife of the shepherd had just given birth to a stillborn child. As he walks into the wood, he stares into the eyes of the infant, and he can't help but to think of his own child and what could have been. The shepherd decides to disobey Harpagus and brings the baby home, and he and his wife decide to secretly raise him as their own. They name the boy Agridates, and the shepherd buries their own stillborn son and gives Harpagus the location of the body. As far as everyone else knows, the matter's settled. The royal infant is dead. So Agridates is raised in the countryside away from the royal family, completely unaware of his lineage, and he grows into a strong, charismatic boy. One day, at the age of 10, he's playing with some other kids.